What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Primer testing today. Expansion primers. This is a new primer out on the market right now. It's a USA made in Texas primer from a company known as Expansion Industries or Expansion Ballistics, Expansion Ammunition. They have a few different names, but they're basically making expansion primers. Now these do say OEM small pistol primers, and they do say not for resale, commercial use only. These are samples. I did not buy these out on the open market. These were sent to us by a friend of the channel, and thankfully we can test these and we can see what these are all about. So I know I've said this before, and I know that they've said this before, but I think these should be out pretty soon. By the time we make this video right now, they should be available within the month, hopefully. So I have to make a disclaimer here. All the footage you're about to see and all the testing you're about to see here on these expansion primers, please keep in mind that these are the very first primers to have come off of their assembly line. Supposedly, this is of the first batch of 100,000 primers to come off. So these are 1,000 primer packs, which means there's about 100 of these in that first batch. I have one of those. I actually have 2 of them. But we are testing the absolute first stuff to come off the line. So maybe their quality control wasn't exactly up to where it should be, but hopefully they've learned and they've gotten better. Now they should be cranking these things out pretty good. I think that the subsequent primers that we get in for testing, we will be getting more from the actual production line that's going out for sale. That testing could be a little bit different, but just keep in mind these are the very first, and every company could experience some growing pains. With that said, enjoy. In the meantime, let's just test them. So later on in the video, we're gonna roll around some actual footage up close of us on the reloading table inspecting these. So these sleeves, they are not messing around whatsoever. These things are tight, so be careful or you will spill them everywhere. It's the right size pack to dump on a little sorter tray, shaker tray, primer tray, whatever you want to call that thing. Try to get you a good focused in view of what these things look like. I did notice that in some of these packs there will be an oddball, like this one I'm focusing on in the center. It just has like almost a carbony look to the center of it. I'm noticing one of those every now and then. And there's what the shiny side looks like, the striking side. So let's compare that to a pack of Winchester small pistol primers. Alright, that's what Winchesters look like. Let me focus down in on them a little bit. Very uniform. So this might be a slight challenge to focus in on, but the expansion primers are on the left and the Winchester primers are on the right. I want you guys to see the seating depth of the anvil. Let me try to focus in. They're uniform on both. A little bit higher though on the expansion primer. I'm trying to get nice and level and the camera is being funny, but as you can see, pretty level on the Winchester, just a hair above flush. And then with the expansion primers, just a hair more. You can actually see the notches in the wings of the anvil. So putting them completely side by side, you can just see there's an obvious materials difference. They still have about the same kind of anvil, just a hair different. Winchester on the right, expansion on the left. This caliper right now is zeroed. It might not be perfectly calibrated, but it's good enough for what we're doing here. So I'm going to pick up a primer. We see 0.175 inch. I'm going to separate out another one. Now these are the expansion primers. 0.175. 0.1745. 0.174. 0.1745. 0.174. Now I'm going to go to the Winchesters. I think you get the idea here. So now I'm going to start picking up the Winchesters. 0.175. 0.175. 0.175. 0.175. 0.175. So I think you get the picture, but what I think we're seeing is more consistency from the Winchester than we are seeing from the expansion. Unfortunately, just a hair of variance in there. I'm not sure if it's enough to make a difference. You let me know. We'll know what it feels like in the press once we get to doing that. So that's actually next. But for now, let's just put some of these through a Chiappa Rhino. This is the 30DS Chiappa Rhino. We're using this because it has a short barrel, and I want that for this testing because we're gonna take these loaded up primed 38 special cases. Now I have these sorted out to manufacturer type. So every time we shoot a cylinder, it's going to be the same manufacturer, so there won't be any of those differences in there. I've cleaned all this brass up nice. I've cleaned out the flash holes specifically. I've done a uniforming of the flash holes, cleaned out the primer pockets, things like that, to make sure that nothing impedes with a primer type test. When I loaded these primers, they loaded fine. If anything, I would say they loaded just a little bit easier than the Winchesters. Everything we're comparing today is just to Winchester small pistol primer. So these loaded a hair easier. They might be just a hair smaller, but we'll have the measurements for you. So what we're gonna be doing with these first 50 rounds here is, the first 20 rounds are basically just gonna be primed cases. There's no powder, there's no bullet in there. We just wanna see how they perform as far as noise level, if there's any flash during daylight, and just to make sure they all go off uniformly. After that, we do have some projectiles loaded up. I loaded these very precisely, very carefully. I made everything very uniform, and we're gonna go for accuracy. Now, I made them very uniform, so I guess you can call them 38 special match ammo, but how match can it be out of a wheel gun, 38 special? Moving on after that, we will do low light testing with these to see how much flash comes out in the dark, but we have to wait for it to get dark first, so that'll be towards the end of the video. That's what we're gonna do today with the Rhino and these first 50 rounds-ish that we've loaded up for 38 special. We have loaded up a bunch of 45 ACP. One of those boxes is truly match ammo that I've just made the exact tolerances to make sure that they perform perfectly. We have 25 rounds loaded with Winchester primer, 25 loaded with these expansion primers, and we're gonna go for accuracy, chronograph numbers, things like that. We're gonna use the chronograph today for the 38 special with the ones that are loaded, but this will be a more accurate test of that, I believe. These other 45 that we're making, these are nozzle ejected hollow points. I'm doing my best to make those extremely nice. Again, everything that I'm loading with these primers, I'm cleaning out primer pockets and I'm giving them every chance to perform well, but I'm gonna load up 1,000 of these 45s. They're not all gonna be the same projectile, but very carefully made 45s, and we're gonna progressively, I'm not gonna do it all in one day, but basically between the M&P 45 and the Nighthawk Custom, they're all gonna get run through those guns, 1,000 rounds, and we're gonna see just sheer numbers if we have any failures. Let's get started today with the 38 special testing. All right, we're gonna start with the Chiappa Rhino. I have the cylinder almost filled up all the way. We have 5 rounds-ish in there. They're just empties, they have primer only. If you wanna look here, this is Remington brass, 38 special, plus P. It's actually nickel plated, so we're just gonna see how these sound and how they react in general. We're gonna see how much smoke they throw. Well, that's interesting. Let's check to see which ones went off. I don't think that one went off. I don't think that one went off. I do think that one went off. And I do think that that one went off. And I do think that that one went off. So I'm gonna put these back in the gun. And I don't even remember which way the cylinder rotates. There it goes to the right. So eventually, we're going to get to them. This gun fires off of the bottom cylinder, in case anybody doesn't know. So you'll see them rotate in here. That's going to be nothing. Now this one should be, it should be a bang, but it's not. It's a click, no bang. That's twice that primer has been hit. That's twice that primer has been hit, and they have not gone off. This could potentially be a very rough video. Now you tell me what you think about the dimples. I know it's really hard to see on camera right now, especially with the X's I put in there, but the 3 on the left are the ones that did go off. The 2 on the right are the ones that did not go off. So, I mean, they're struck. I'm zooming in pretty good with the camera. They're struck just like those are struck, and we did hit those 2 times. Now, some people may say that the seating depth could be off, but I've set these in there just like I set every other 38 special primer. Let's keep going. All right, using the exact same brass, we're going to do that test again, but this time with Winchester or small pistol primers. Nothing is different except for the primer. The same machine, seating depth, all that. Everything's the same. And the empty cylinder. So all 5 of those did go off. We saw smoke out of both, we saw flame out of both. You be the judge on if you think it's different between the 2. The biggest difference is 2 of the expansion primers did not go off, unfortunately, where all 5 of the Winchesters did. All right, now we're gonna do the same thing again, except for we're gonna use non-plus P brass. I've changed the scenery around for you a little bit. Let's see if these 5 go off. So we had 4 out of 5 go off. We're on the empty cylinder again. Just remember, the empty cylinder is going to be on the bottom. I did notice that the first one had a lot of flame. I don't know if that means anything, but the flame pretty much touched the ground. Let me go through these again. There, it went off that time. Highly unusual for the Chiappa Rhino. Let me grab 5 more with Winchester primers. All right, same brass, Winchester primers. All right, I had to look at that for a second. That cylinder didn't want to turn very well because this primer actually backed out a little bit. It's kind of unusual. So we'll pretend that that didn't happen and we'll keep going. And again, that primer's wanting to back out. So I'll take these out. Well, let me set it the right way. There we go. The empties, and then one more. Okay, so all of them went off. Let's go look at these bullets real quick. That's kind of interesting. Or these shell casings, not these bullets. I'm sorry. So I have to say that that's kind of weird. If you take a look at this, you're going to notice that they are bulged. I'll try to just start to come over here. Maybe you can see there's a little bit of a flat topper or a muffin topper, whatever you want to call it. But anytime you have any kind of bulging or backing out of the primer, you will have a hard time rotating the cylinder. Why these did that, I have no idea. Some people will say that I reamed out the primer pocket too much. That's not the case, I can promise you. And that truly is odd because those were 2 different primers loaded in the exact same brass. So I'm not sure what's going on there. The expansion primers, like I said, they load in there a little bit easier. They're not as tight, yet none of those backed out. So something weird with pressure in the primer without having an actual charge go off, I'm not sure. If anybody really does know the real answer to that, not just some smarty pants answer, go ahead and put it in the comment section. A quick little cut over to the live stream studio for a second. By the way, we're usually here Monday and Wednesday nights at 10 o'clock if you want to stop by and chat about anything. But I think what might be going on here is without a bullet and a charge, a completed cartridge going off. I think we're getting a pressure situation with a primer where it's kind of ballooning out, but then it's not able to get itself flattened back because there's no bullet coming out of the front, therefore creating the pressure of the case to slam back against the breech. So it's not flattening it back out. I think maybe primers somewhat do this in general. They puff out, but then they're immediately slammed against the breech, and then they're not able to remain puffed out like that. They're back to being a flat, normal primer. I think that could be what the issue is. Again, tell me if you think different. All right, now on to some accuracy testing. I have 4.4 grains of bullseye loaded on 10 of these rounds, 5 of them Winchester, 5 of them expansion primers. And to be honest with you, I don't remember the grain weight of the projectile. It's a Barry's bullet of some sort. I don't generally use them, but I just loaded them up today just to get rid of them. I think it's 125, but don't quote me on that. All right, the ones that are marked X for expansion, we have 5 of them loaded up. I'm gonna shoot at the left center dot of that target, and let's see what we get. Now, this is completely dependent on my shooting on top of minimal variation in bullet performance. But again, we're just looking for, does this thing go bang, and is there really any huge difference in accuracy? Which I can't imagine there will be, but we're gonna go ahead and do it. So anytime you have a click no bang, and I know there's one in the cylinder because I can see it, if you have a live loaded round and you have a click no bang, hold it for a second to make sure you don't have a squib load about, or a failure to fire-ish type of thing to go on that results in a hang fire. So a hang fire is usually going to happen like immediately. It's going to go like klabang, klabang. You're usually not going to have a big long wait, but it's always best practices just to make sure you don't have some sort of an extreme exaggerated hang fire, not just a regular failure to fire. With that said, I can show you that this bottom round was struck and the bullet did not go off. I will give it one more chance to get struck again. Let's see, I have to put it in right there. Nope, I have to put it in right there. Nope, this gun's a pain in the butt. Yeah, right there. Okay. And nothing. So, again, downrange. Nothing. Let's try the Winchesters. So not too bad. I don't use this gun a whole lot, but that's acceptable. There were no crazy flyers, but I didn't expect there to be either. 2 of them landed right there, so at least I got a hole in a hole pretty much. All right, now on to the Winchester primers, and before I go ahead and do this cylinder, I'm going to rotate this so that we know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we know the cylinder rotates, so no primers are sticking out right now. Let's see what happens after we fire them. Right target, center dot. All right, all 5 of those went off. Let's take a look. So I'm gonna call that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'd say that's a pretty nice group. Did I warm up with this one? Maybe. Or could that be a tighter group in general? Could be. A lot depends on how this primer ignites the powder and then how the powder reacts to throw the bullet. If you really throw things off like crazy, you'll change things. Let's do some chronograph testing, if the light cooperates. All right, I have loaded up that same bullet with 5.4 grains of Win 231. I'm 10 feet off the chronograph. Let's see how it does. It's on one right now, and that didn't do so good. So we'll move on to the next one. That's 822. That's 849. That's 784. 890. And I struck that one again and it did not go off that time. So here's our numbers and our average. So that's the round and the primer in question. I'm gonna put it back in the gun. I'm gonna set it where it's supposed to be and I'm gonna try to get it to go off. Not happening. So here are the Winchesters. Let's see if they do better. I'm telling you, there was a deep primer pocket strike on that, or a deep primer strike. It hit that thing really hard and it was not gonna go off. So let's see if we get a little bit of a different velocity difference with it. Now keep in mind, if we do have a big variance in numbers, it could be the primers or it could just be any other variable in my reloading. So that's 717. $850. That's a big difference. $850. $823. $822. $878. And that was it. So here's those numbers and averages. Now these last 10 we have in here, these are going to be saved for nighttime. So let's let the lights go down. All right, so the camera's doing what it wants to do to try to enhance the light, but trust me, we're at a pretty low light situation right now. We're almost at dark, we're right at dusk. You're gonna be able to see a difference on film, I think, with a flash. So let's go ahead and commence with the low light testing. We have the expansion primers in here first, 5 of them. Let's see how they do. And that is backed out, I'm assuming, because it's a pain in the butt to rotate. So let me get that one out of there. I don't know why it does that back out thing. I don't generally shoot things without bullets in them. Again, primer's backing out. That one was a little bit weaker than the one previous to it. I just took this one out. I don't even know if it would come out on its own or not. But so that one was a little bit weaker. That one was stronger. Yeah, they backed themselves out. That's really weird it didn't do it at first, but different kind of a case we're using. Oh, I had that in the wrong spot. Well, all 5 of those went off that time. A little bit of a difference in the flash. All right, exact same brass, just a different primer. Now we're with the Winchesters. Let's see how that does. A different type of flash for sure. That was a lower powder or lower pressure and a different type of flash. Definitely different. That was the first one we had that started to back out a little bit. So let's get that one out of there. Well, I think we can agree that that's a different type of flash. Pretty cool. So I think we can say that one might be charged a little bit hotter than the others. I didn't want to say it when I was shooting the original groupings when we had it on paper, but I did kind of feel like those rounds, I don't know exactly the difference on Chronograph, I can't remember, and we'll see it when I do edit this up, but they did feel just a little bit more jarring to the hand. I don't know if that was just my mind or not, but the first one I shot, I said, man, that's a little steep for 38. It just felt a little bit more of a rock to the hand compared to the other ones. Like I said, that could all be in my mind, or this thing's throwing out a little bit of a hotter flash to get that powder going a little bit different, therefore the whole thing combusts a little bit different and feels a little different. I don't know. Let me know what you think in the comments. So this is definitely unconventional testing. That's the kind of stuff we do here at the Turkey's Opinion. Let me know if you like this. Let me know if there's anything special you want me to do other than do the accuracy testing on the 45, and then we're gonna just run through the 45. Let me know if there's other tests you want me to perform. So keep an eye out for those videos and as much other information as we can bring you about these primers. Stay tuned to other videos unrelated to these primers. We have some really cool stuff coming up. You don't wanna miss it. In the meantime, stay safe, have fun, and keep shooting.